Calling all builders. Welcome to Snowflake's 5-minute demo dare, where contestants race against the clock to demo the latest and greatest Snowflake products and features. Our judges will rate the demos based on 3 criteria. How ambitious is the demo? Is the demo useful and replicable? And finally, how engaging and interactive was the demo? Each category is worth 5 points, and demos can rack up to a total of 15 points for a perfect score. And now, your host, developer advocate Felipe Hoffa.
Pam, pam, pam. We are live. Welcome to a new episode of the 5-minute demo there, where people race against the clock to show us a technical demo showing off the favorite Snowflake features in less than 5 minutes. And today, the title of our demo is From Snowpark and Spark with Apache Iceberg. And Ron, are you there ready for us?
Hey, Felipe, yes, I am ready.
Welcome to the show, Ron Ortloff, product manager at Snowflake.
Hello, great to be here.
Great to be here. Great to have you here. And the first question everyone has is, what does a product manager like Ron Ortloff does at Snowflake?
Yeah, I'm on our data lake team here at Snowflake as a product manager. My primary area of focus is on our Iceberg table implementation.
Iceberg tables, excellent. So, and you have a demo for us today. I want to remind everyone that we are live. It's 10:02 a.m. where I am. Where are you, Ron?
Same, 10:02 here. Yep.
10:02. Yes.
Yeah.
And we are open to live comments. We want people supporting you. We want people asking questions. So, what's the quick pitch of your demo today?
Yeah, so today in the demo that we're going to run, we're going to show the power of using Apache Iceberg in an open lakehouse architecture to achieve compute engine interoperability. Our scenario today is going to be sentiment analysis on product review data. I want to do this in a way that we write data once, use the Cortex LLM functions to do the sentiment analysis for us, and then have the data stored with no silos that's accessible by a variety of compute engines. So in summary, the demo that we're going to do today is we're going to have a Snowflake managed Iceberg table that's going to be loaded via Snowpark. We're going to enrich that data loaded from Snowpark using those Cortex LLM functions. And then we're going to read it from a Snowflake data share as well as read it from Spark. So that hopefully is what we can accomplish here all in 5 minutes.
I love how this demo is all about compute engines, interoperability, using Iceberg and using Snowflake and other engines. But you are sprinkling some LLM magic just to make it more fun.
Absolutely.
Yes, pleasure meeting to our users on LinkedIn that are sending us comments already. And I want to introduce you to our judges today. Let's welcome Vino, let's welcome Gilberto and Daniel. They are going to
How's it going, folks?
Good, Daniel. So, Ron, they are going to be judging your 5-minute demo on 3 criteria. Is this useful? Is this ambitious? Are you trying to do a lot with your 5 minutes? And of course, is this entertaining? Because we have the timer because we want to be entertained. So on the ambitious question, Ron, how much are you trying to do in these 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of great stuff here. We're going to have, again, multiple compute engines. We're going to be loading data, refreshing data, really kind of going through the full pipeline kind of life cycle that you would if you were to implement this solution on your own.
Nice. And the end result that we should see when we know the demo is accomplished?
The last step here, we will be reading that data written from Snowpark inside of Spark. That's how we'll end up the demo. Yep.
Beautiful. And now it's time for the judges to ask questions and tell you what they want to see today. Who would like to start? The first one to unmute. Gilberto, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You know me, I'm always going to go for ease of use. So I just want to see how easy this is. But on top of that, I want to look at performance. and just exactly what that workflow and experience is like for someone doing this.
Beautiful.
Great.
Vino.
I was going to say, I'm excited about the interoperability component of it. When Ron said, we have data coming in from different sources, which we will read in Snowpark and also read from the other query engines as well. I guess, like reading the data from these different sources and like exposing it as a Snowflake data share is something that I'm excited about. And also like the timing of it. If I remember, you could even be showing this demo for an hour and just like configuring external query engines and running all of that within 5 minutes. That's going to be quite the challenge today. So I'm excited for how it goes.
Good question. And Vino
Thoughts
has a
and
lot of
prayers,
experience.
Ron.
Yes. Vino has a lot of experience with Snowflake, with Spark. So I'm sure you will be very interested in what's going to happen here. And Vino has also written about Iceberg. So this is a perfect match. Daniel.
Yeah, I am really excited. I mean, so echoing both what Gilberto and Vino said, and adding to that, I think seeing some of the ambition and how much you can really pack into 5 minutes. Felipe mentioned it, having a little bit of LLM sprinkled in there and is going to be great. So I'm excited to see it.
Yes, we are all excited. And Ron, before we start the 5-minute timer, what would you like people to know? What setup is important to know before the demo starts?
Yeah, I think just a couple things to call out. We'll be on AWS today. I'll be inside of Snowflake getting those tables created. We'll come over to VS Code. VS Code will be that spot where we'll run a local Spark environment as well as run Snowpark. So you'll see a couple screens moving around, but it'll be between Snowflake as a producer account, Snowflake as that data share consumer, VS Code for loading and querying via Spark. And then we'll even pop over to S3 and really show that this data is being written once to an S3 bucket. And we'll see the Iceberg metadata as well as that Parquet core data set being written to the data lake.
Cool. I think we're ready to start. People, pay attention to this. We want to answer all your questions after the demo is done. Ron, are you ready to start the 5-minute timer?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so to get started with an Iceberg table, we have to do a couple things first, get our external volume created. So that'll be the first step that we do in the process. We'll go ahead and get this configured. So your external volume is that handshake between Snowflake and your storage account. With that external volume created, I'm going to go ahead and set this as the default for this database. That way, when I create all my Iceberg tables going forward, I have this parameter set for this database and I don't have to keep specifying that over and over again. I'm going to be creating managed Iceberg tables by Snowflake today. So I'm going to set the catalog equal to Snowflake. And now we're ready to create our product reviews table. So this product reviews table is going to hold, as you can see, the review, and then we have a placeholder for the sentiment analysis. So we'll go ahead and get that created. I've got a couple of infrastructure things I want to create here for CSV, as well as a stage to hold that data that's going to be coming in. I'm going to create a stream on this Iceberg table as well. That'll help me capture changes as they're being loaded in from Snowpark. And then here is where we get into some of the fun stuff. So I'm going to create this task. I have it on a schedule and I'll also be able to run it manually. But this is where I'm using the Cortex sentiment analysis LLM function to score the sentiment on those reviews. So you see here, like Vino mentioned, I'm not having to import a bunch of libraries, do a bunch of configuration. The Cortex product is built directly into the Snowflake product for ease of use. So now I've got that configured. I'm going to go ahead and add this table to the share, and then just make a quick check here that I've got that outbound share configured. With that set, I'm ready to now start loading some data. So we'll hop over to Snowpark and get that configured here in VS Code, get logged in to my account. I'm going to upload some of that CSV data, and then I'm going to get a structure to hold those reviews here, and then I'm going to go ahead and load up a data frame. So now I have the January data set loaded up into a data frame. Here's where I could then do some scrubbing of that data, have some other ways to get that data massaged and ready to be loaded up. I see here everything looks good. I'm going to go ahead and then commit that to the Iceberg table. So here now I have Snowpark that's put data into Iceberg, and it's now ready to be queried. So I can hop over to my consumer account on the data share. Let's verify here. Yes, this is the inbound data share. And now I can see some of that product review data on the data share. So no data movement. This has been configured for Snowflake data sharing, and I'm consuming that data where I see I've got the January data loaded up. I can then also go back to my task here and run this task. It can also be on a schedule. Here's where that Cortex function's kicking in and doing the sentiment analysis. Can pop over here now and see that we have our sentiment scores done. I can take an average rolled up by products, and we have them now in the data. So here data's been loaded, data's been scored. Now we can go actually over to Spark and take a look here. So we'll go ahead and get our Spark configuration set. So here we've pulled the data into a data frame product reviews, again, in that demo database. And then we can take a look at that data rolled up by review date. And we should see our January review data. So here we've gone out to S3 after making a connection into Snowflake. We can take a quick peek at the data here on S3, my data, as well as the Iceberg metadata.json. So everything looks good. We're getting tight on time here, so let's go ahead and do that again one more time. Grab some February data, write that February data in as well. Come back, score that data. Again, this can be on a schedule, right? So as data is refreshed, the task kicks off, the data is automatically scored. Just easier from a demo standpoint to run this here. So there, then we'll see we've got our February data loaded up. I've got a couple months of data now. I could do some month over month kind of querying, see the SnugFit phone holders not doing so hot. And then lastly, we can come back to Spark. Sorry, refresh the data frame and see the February data. That's it. So a couple seconds over, but you got to see a repeat performance. There's the February data that was loaded.
I could call it the perfect finish. You already did 1 month, and then you added another month of data.
Yeah, trying to get in the favor of the judges here. A little extra credit maybe to slide in at the end.
That was beautiful. And you added task to the mix too. That was beautiful. Thank you, Ron. Vino, Daniel, Gilberto, what did you think? Vino first.
That was fantastic. I mean, it was a perfect demo. Everything was config. I was kind of worried about how this whole config and setup was going to go. But then looking at the first few statements that he ran through, and I was like, he was able to run the sentiment analysis in what, like 10 lines of code? And that was like beautiful, absolutely nailed it. And thanks to Cortex, of course. And even in the later part of it, we showed like, you can write to the Iceberg table from an external query engine, and you can see that updated from Snowflake, and it was super cool too. For me, it overall hit the nail on the head in terms of what he wanted to show and what he was actually able to show, and also within the time limit. So I'm super impressed. Way to go, Ron.
Thank you.
Daniel, Gilberto, who wants to unmute first?
Yeah. I agree with Vino. I thought this was a very good presentation, very good and engaging. I thought it was very relevant to show the combination of Cortex with across the data there, so very compelling.
Very compelling. And Gilberto.
I was blown away. It was so much fun. It had everything. Iceberg, Sparks, Snowpark, sentiment analysis with Cortex, streams, tasks. You even showed the DAG. That was phenomenal. I loved it. It touched on a bunch of different aspects of this entire process. I mentioned I was looking at like ease of use. There was, of course, like some setup involved, but after everything was set up, it was pretty straightforward and easy to use. So great job, Ron. Really enjoyed it.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Before the judges go to score this presentation, any questions that you have for Ron?
I have one question about, I guess in the last part of the demo, where we were trying to write the February's data into the Snowflake table and then trying to query it back. Was there, is using streams and tasks the only way to enable, if an external query engine is writing data into a Snowflake managed Iceberg table, doesn't it automatically get picked up, or do I actually have to use streams and tasks as a workaround to be able to keep the table updated?
Yeah, I think the streams and task is kind of touching on how you could operationalize this component, right? So putting that stream there, that's going to pick up the changed data, right? The new reviews that come in, and that's really that hook that we know we can do that incremental processing of those new reviews, which is going to give you that scale aspect, right? So then we can just apply that sentiment analysis on the change data and get that brought into the overall data set.
Gotcha. Will there be consistency issues while someone is writing to the table and I'm trying to read the same table from Snowpark? Because if there are streams involved, which means I'd have to wait until these tasks are run, right? So during the period of the tasks running, there would be inconsistencies, or would it be, managed by Snowflake?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be, however you have that task schedule, there would be a lag of storing that data. But when it comes to consuming the data, one of the great things about Iceberg, you can operate, I can have Spark, Snowflake, Snowpark all operating against the same snapshot of the data in Iceberg. So then across those compute engines, you're getting a consistent view of the data, which can be super, super valuable if you want to compare and have data consistency with that compute interoperability.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes, I have a related question from Paul Desmond that's tuning in from London. And Paul's question is Spark, so Spark was able to interact and write to the Snowflake catalog Iceberg table?
So I'm doing the writes from Snowpark. We're read-only currently from Spark. But that was how we were done. We were in VS Code for both the reading from Spark as well as the writing from Snowpark. Snowpark has the functions built in to do the writes into the Snowflake Iceberg tables.
And that was during the demo. And in general, if you wanted Spark to write to these tables, what are the alternatives?
Yeah, so you could use Snowpark, or you can use a Snowflake warehouse to write to those Iceberg tables. Those would be your choices. Yeah.
So that's where the management is happening, but then other tools can use it. And if you have Spark writing to a table, how can Snowflake consume it? How does the ecosystem look?
Yeah. So today the demo was a bit more tailored towards Snowflake managing your Iceberg tables. We do also have catalog integrations. If you're using another engine to write your Iceberg data, we can integrate with that catalog. We can certainly reach out and consume that Iceberg data as well. So you really have kind of your choice, right? You can have Snowflake give you that fully managed Iceberg experience, or if you have an existing Iceberg data lake, we can tie into that as well.
Perfect. And yeah, by the way, I'm going to invite, once the judges have done their judging, I'm going to invite them back to the conversation. If people have more questions, please free to ask them. If LinkedIn is not relying your comments, you can always join the YouTube live, where we can also are streaming and we can get your questions. This is something that someone was observing yesterday, as many different companies are choosing Iceberg to build these integrated data lakes. Uh, and then, as you were mentioning, there are different catalogs. How does this having so many catalogs look from the Snowflake side?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, right? There's certainly variety across the different vendors on catalog offerings that are there. I think overall, this is where we see a lot of great kind of consensus within the overall Apache Iceberg community. So we have a lot of sort of gravity towards that REST API implementation within the Apache Iceberg project, and certainly Snowflake is going to be a part of that as well. So it gives you, you can have some freedom around using different catalogs, but when it comes to like interfaces, APIs, code, you're all talking kind of that same API interface and using a similar set of functions. So that can be very powerful from a code simplicity standpoint, and then it just becomes configuring, connections to those different catalogs.
Yeah, and speaking of configuring connections, can you show us your screen again? I would love to see where you were setting up that connection for the database.
Certainly, yeah.
Certainly. Let's see if here's your screen, and let's go to this is a Spark configuration.
This is a Spark configuration, yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you're wondering on Spark, this is how you would be connecting into the Snowflake catalog. Using basically the Apache Iceberg Snowflake catalog. That's how that would be done today. You have your your Snowflake account endpoint, login information, and then also specifying the AWS S3 access points for that as well. That's on the Spark side. In Snowpark, pretty straightforward as well. Importing the session information, and then here getting your account information configured.
Nice. And on the Snowflake side, you also did some setup.
On the Snowflake side, yes.
Also, I mean, before, yes, when you were creating these tables.
Yep. So we can jump back to that as well. Again, for the Iceberg tables, it's kind of a three kind of step process to get going. I need some storage because we're writing to your cloud storage account. So I need that external volume setup. I need a catalog. So again, we're doing Snowflake managed Iceberg tables here. So my catalog is Snowflake. And then lastly is that Iceberg table DDL, right? The table definition. So when I do that, we're specifying column names, data types, and then that location within the external volume where I want to put this specific table's data and metadata.
I see. Something that's very interesting for me is you were saying that you wanted to have the default catalog for this database be Snowflake.
Yep, that was what we did up here. Yep.
Exactly. But when you say default, it means that you can have 10 different tables on this same database, and each table can have a different catalog.
Yeah, I could have another table that looks just like this, different name, different column definition. To keep things clean and tidy, I'd probably have another folder that I want to drop that data into as well. But I don't have to keep specifying, this external volume. I don't have to keep specifying the catalog as Snowflake. So it tightens things up, makes things a little bit simpler. If I didn't set these things here, then I would be adding those as parameters into this create table statement. So it's a shorthand, simplified way to get your Iceberg tables created, without having to put repetitive information into code.
I like it. But also in terms of interoperability, each table could have a different external volume, a different catalog, and then you can run joins inside the Snowflake as if you were.
Yeah, I could have a Snowflake storage table. I could have an Iceberg table that's managed by an external catalog, and I could have one that's managed by the Snowflake catalog. I could tie those all together, in a single query and run them just fine. Yep.
Excellent. And the other question I had in this setup is, when you're setting up the sharing, why is sharing important for this demo?
I think for me,
Yeah.
I love the data sharing feature in Snowflake. I think it's so powerful. And I'm just a fan. I like to include it in all my demos just to make sure people that are aware, when you're creating, especially in the Iceberg case, you're creating Iceberg tables, you can leverage kind of the power of the Snowflake platform for things like data sharing, and it just works, right? I don't have to do anything different for data sharing of Snowflake tables that I would do with just like a regular Snowflake table. So it's that great situation where I can write once and read many, and it flows kind of right through that Snowflake data sharing capability.
Perfect. So in this case, to share with Spark, were we using these shares or just the S3 ability to just read?
Yeah, so that's with Spark, when we talk about interoperability outside the Snowflake platform and ecosystem, that's where that Iceberg catalog comes into play. So we had that configuration in the Spark. I can pop back over there just so we have something to look at. When I'm specifying this in the Spark code, now I'm interfacing through Snowflake and the Iceberg catalog that Snowflake is maintaining. So it's still a single copy of the data. I'm reading data directly from S3 through into Spark, but we're going through the Iceberg catalog to get the snapshot information, the Iceberg metadata snapshot information, and where to read those Parquet files.
Beautiful. And I have a last question from Paul that comes in two parts, if you want to show it, is, it seems likely a Snowflake catalog Iceberg table would allow sharing to different regions without data replication. Let's talk about.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. The data sharing within Snowflake, we can do that. And then also, the data is written to an S3 bucket. You can certainly connect to that from another region through Spark and be able to read that data. Just, kind of being cognizant of the physics of moving data outside of a region would be something to watch out for.
Yeah, so at least some pruning would happen if the tables are well partitioned.
Yeah, so it's going to depend on the compute engine. If you're using Spark, there's going to be regular Spark query optimizations that happen. You're able to leverage the Iceberg metadata in this case as well. So yeah, those things would be in play there for those other compute engines for sure.
Yes, and we have the judges back to deliver the final judgment, but I have a very quick question, if you can answer it in 20 seconds.
Yes.
How would you handle, this is Sareb, how would you handle if it's a non-transactional data, if consumers want to build some KPIs on shared data?
Non-transactional data, I mean, it is like one of the inherent beauties of Apache Iceberg. You can be, running data, loading data, generating Iceberg snapshots, time travels there. You can use, a sync point as of, and have kind of that consistency to query, time travel query over the same data from different compute engines. And that'll give you some consistency across those KPI reports.
Consistency. Thank you, Iceberg. And thank you, Ron, for delivering this. You did great. I think Daniel will deliver the final score. But before we deliver the final score, I want to invite everyone to send us your demos. You could be next. We want to feature you on the Snowflake LinkedIn page, on the Snowflake Developers YouTube channel. We want to bring you to Summit if you are between one of the top 3 demo deliverers during this show. Before we go to the final score, Ron, anything you would like people to remember or to do next?
Yeah, certainly, the Iceberg tables is in public preview. Take a look at our documentation, give the preview feature a try.
Excellent. So anyone can just try this out and repeat.
Publicly available. Yep.
Beautiful. Daniel, I'll give you the last word.
Perfect. So, Ron, I think the overall, this was a very good demo. it was very ambitious, covering a wide range of different features all across Snowflake. Like we said, Cortex, obviously Iceberg tables, and all sorts of things. The interoperability of this really shows how relevant it is, and being able to tie together multiple different query engines, and things like that. And I think you also have a natural ability to keep people engaged. So the average score, drum roll please, out of 15, 11.3. So great score.
Beautiful.
Great score. Yes.
Yeah, no, great to meet you. So we'll see you.
Great ambition, great relevance, great engaging. We are really happy to have you here. You tempted the demo gods and you delivered. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vino. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Gilberto.
Awesome.
Thank you, live viewers. Thank you for the live questions. And I'll see all of you very soon.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
You.
Thank you.
Want to be featured on our show? Submit a video of you successfully completing a functioning demo within 5 minutes. Demos must be technical, original, and showcase existing Snowflake features.